So I was having a problem with the driver's side seat in a 2006 Dodge Ram 1500 SLT 4.7 liter. The seat would not move forward and backward. All the other functions were fine on it. It would lift up, lift down, but it would not move forward and backwards. I went ahead and checked the connector on the motor that drove that, and the connector was getting voltage. So I knew it wasn't the switch, or I determined it wasn't the switch, and it turned out to be the actual motor underneath the seat that had the problem. So what I'll do is I'll go through a video kind of showing the what I learned, or the easy way to do it to replace this motor, and in my case the bracket also that went with that motor. So with the new motor, I'm just going to go ahead and replace the whole bracket that I purchased off of eBay. I think that's an easier situation. I went ahead and manually drove the seat up to where the rails were sort of flush on both sides, so I know that both rails would be evenly spaced apart, or the seat wouldn't be sort of cockeyed in the rails, causing it to jam up. So here's the bracket with the old motor. I went ahead and just pulled the motor out of these retaining clips to see what the issue was with the motor, and it was able to spin in one direction, but it was jamming in the other. And I think internally one of the carbon contacts or something like that had to jam the motor, kept it from spinning. So if you raise the seat up as high as possible under here, you'll be able to get to these two front mounts. It's a 13mm socket. If you can get the nuts off of those, I should be able to install the new motor and bracket. Once the four nuts are released from the seat bracket here, you can tilt the seat backwards, and then this bracket should be able to lift up and pull off. So once the four nuts are off on the motor assembly bracket and the rails, the seat can just lift straight up. So if you take these two off and then the two on the other side, the seat will lift up. So here's the old motor in assembly, just showing how I put it in, a better view outside of trying to be crammed up underneath the seat. But as you put it in, or slide it over those studs, what you want to do is feed this into the rail guide, let it bottom out, at least on one side, either this side or the other side. And when it's bottomed out, go ahead and lightly flex the other side so that it goes into that guide as well. That way you're not stressing this tube a lot. This is the old tube, and on mine that tubing cracked pretty heavily if you sort of flex it too much. So just be cautious with that. I don't know if it's a big deal if it does crack, but better safe than sorry. When going to put the seat back onto the brackets, you'll notice the alignment is off. If you reach up, there are two bars here, one slightly curved. If you reach underneath and grip it and squeeze it, this bracket will move forward, and then you can align it and drop it down on the studs easier there. So with the new motor and bracket installed, the seat does seem to be functioning fine now, going in reverse and forward, so that seemed to do the trick. in case you're looking to just replace the motor, I was going to give some additional information on it. I replaced the whole assembly, but if you look at the drive sort of gear here, it is the tubing, or the outer protective tubing is, I believe, epoxied into the rubber boot that goes onto the end of the motor, and I'll flip it over here so you can see it a little better. On mine, out of frustration, I went ahead and grabbed it and just pulled it out because I knew the motor was bad and I was going to have to replace it. But on the motor side, that plastic tubing is epoxied into this rubber boot here. These metal tabs, if you were to press it forward, I found you could get that rubber boot out and actually pull the motor out of this bracket. So here, if you look at the end of the motor and the rubber boot, there's that plastic retainer that's stuck in there. So if you were to try to replace this gear, you would have to get that plastic piece out or replace that boot. By returning the metal tabs sort of back in their main position and having this boot out on the body, sorry, it's difficult to do here one-handed, but anyhow, put the boot on one side of the motor, feed the other one in, and then you're able to press it back into these clips when they're in their sort of normal position. And that's the easiest way I found to get that boot back in. Again, I didn't do this, I don't recommend it, but if by chance you're able to find a cheap motor and it might help you out, I just wanted to share that for you.